I have a Ninja Turtles tattoo.
Who's your guy?
All of them.
Welcome back to Show Me Yours podcast. My name's Jackie Agnew.
I'm Jonny DeVito.
And who do we got in the studio?
Babe, that's a great question. I'm glad you asked. Today in the studio, we have hardcore legend, punk rock warlord, hilarious comedian, and game show host, ladies and gentlemen, Troy Stark. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
That's a lot of things, yeah.
That's a lot of things. That's a lot of things. I'm very excited about this episode. Listeners, flashers out there, you're going to be very excited to hear. If you come to this podcast for music, then in the past 4 weeks, you've heard nothing but 9/11 and Bigfoot.
Yeah, we've really gone heavy on the 9/11 stuff.
Yeah, Netflix puts out a new documentary and it leans in one way, and I mean, we had a lot to talk about.
Sure, yeah.
For probably too long, but we are off that subject, and we are going to come back to music because we're talking hardcore today, and in I think inspiration is an interesting thing. Okay,
sure.
I've moved across the country with my lovely lady here, and for the past 6 months, you're in a new scene. You're trying to get like ingratiated. Comedy is the main focus, and finding new music is always on the back of my mind. But I think the older that you get, the harder that it is to kind of be as proactive about discovering stuff.
It's so easy to put on that album you've listened to 1,000 times.
Oh,
For sure.
Right, and then in what we've been talking about today, I realized that rather than exploring something new, what I should have done the entire time is kind of go back and take a deeper dive into a lot of stuff that I might have maybe brushed past.
Sure.
And I think for like punk rock kid, I love all facets of it, but I mean, I've skanked at more ska shows than
okay.
You know what I mean? Gotten into the pit and gotten involved in hardcore, and I do think that it's interesting, and I do think it's something that you have to be a part of. I'm from a small town, so I definitely went out of my way to kind of be like the only punk on the island kind of situation.
Yeah. I hear you.
Right before I found a scene, and the scene that I did find was definitely more, I would say like. Everything influenced, but I would say, carrying the flag for punk rock specifically.
Sure.
Whereas hardcore is definitely its own thing.
Oh, it's its own like subset of that, and specifically like straight edge hardcore is its own thing. Absolutely. On top of that.
So for the listeners' sake, let's get a little background on who you are, where you're from, and and then how you found this. There's this wonderful subgenre,
which I love. But so I'm originally from Prince Edward Island, right?
Okay.
Charlottetown, and as you said, small town. It's not the biggest scene,
for sure.
So when I first started going to shows and stuff, like going to actual live shows, it was all in like a Legion basement or a YMCA, whatever a bunch of 15-year-olds could rent or convince someone to give them, or a friend's house party, basement party, like that kind of stuff, right? But there was like genuinely when I was like a teenager, there's 4 bands on the island. And one of them was a punk band, and one of them was a metal band, and one of them was an indie rock band, and one of them was like, whatever else was kind of the band of the month that might stick around or might not.
For sure.
And they all had the same drummer. And like so
oh my God. Shout out Dane Becker. Yeah. Join another band, we love you.
And so but when we would do a show, like you might be going for the hardcore band or for the punk band or to see the metal, whatever, but you're going to watch all of them.
Absolutely.
And so in a small town scene, like I really am grateful that I wasn't in a place where I was big enough that I could just go see the punk or just go see the hardcore.
Oh, okay.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
Because then you kind of get like really...
Yeah, I think the worst thing that I ever heard and kind of adopted for myself was like, if it isn't punk, it sucks.
Yeah.
Then you grow up a little bit and you fall in love with people that are like Red Hot Chili Peppers fans and shit. Now you have to kind of open your eyes to be like, fuck, these guys really can play.
Yeah, they do kind of rip though.
Yeah,
like I hate it, but dude, they do rip.
John Frusciante back in the band. I mean, the man's a legend.
Right? So like, and all
can
that
play
stuff.
that bass.
But that goes all the way down to like the Tragically Hip and all this shit that I might have turned my nose up to as like a young,
big time,
punk or whatever. But I think
the one that I still wrestle with is Sublime. Like I remember being like a high school, middle school kid and being like, I fucking hate Sublime fans. And it's not even. I don't know why. Like,
well, you're from the East Coast because you're talking to a couple West Coasters.
No, I hear.
We rocked to Sublime in the car.
Oh, we have recently.
I'm not saying that I was correct.
Sure.
I just, you get these like kind of like perceptions or whatever. And
absolutely.
Maybe one of the older punks at some point said, fuck them. And I was like, oh, yeah, fuck them. You know what I mean?
Totally. 100%.
And then recently, a song will come on, I'll be like, fuck.
Wait, I didn't know they covered Bad Religion. God damn it.
Damn, that's pretty good, though. It's sharp,
It is. I was talking to my little sister the other day, and she was having an argument with a friend. It's so cool. She's about 12 years younger than I am, right?
Sure.
So she still has passionate in a music argument with friends. So, where it's like, we'll just kind of have a beer and cheers to it now, I think, a little over that hill. Mm-hmm. But I think she was arguing like Rivers Cuomo and Bradley Noel, and she kind of hit this person with like, because Radiohead or Weezer or whatever you like could never be as musically diverse as and she was kind of right in a lot of ways.
So funny though. One of my favorite things, my shout out John Semley, he used to always do this thing where he'd have a few drinks in him or whatever, and then he would like start ribbing my friends by being like, I'm just saying musically Iron Maiden is the best band. and then they would start going in with like, okay, well, talent wise, and he'd be, no, not talent. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying musically. And like, no matter what argument you bring up, he's like, no, I get that, but just like musically, that's the best. And he was never wrong.
No, I mean, dude, Fear of the Dark, like you can put it on Run to the Hills, opens like and gallops all the way to the end. Yeah, dude, I'm absolutely with it. But if you could dig your heels in and just go, no. Musically,
that's the funniest argument.
It's so good, and people would throw, and like it would go for hours some nights, and he would never.
Because I think that like that's the funniest thing about being like young and passionate and dumb as shit is that you can get into these hours and hours long arguments, years long arguments, with friends over stuff that is It's always like I always look at music like as a tree and say that if I'm born in 1990 and my friend is born in 1990 and say we found like Green Day first and like okay like what's like what is this punk thing, and then we're gonna kind of go deeper into it and still identify as punk rock, and like now I'm 20 years later a part of this thing. But if we started at the same seed, then does your tree look like?
Sure,
and what does my tree look like? Because it's all
he got
what
into Bad Religion,
says.
you got into the Misfits, and then it goes from there, and it goes from there,
exactly,
and it
right.
That's really like for sure my buddies that were in the same scene as me that grew up and watch all the same like live shows as me.
Yeah.
They would be like super into like the kind of more metalcore, like the and I was just a dummy. Like I just wanted to fucking mosh and hear breakdowns, like just riffs.
The
and
low bottom end, you fucking guys are just chasing that.
Buddy. Anything that I can spin kick to, that's a good song.
You sons of bitches. And again, I think that's the thing is that I was like, I'd get to come down and see my dad for a couple weeks in the summer, and the shows that he would like take me to, I'd get to go to like a Warp Tour or like something like that, and then you would see like Sick of It All do like a fucking like the Wall of Death or something, and you're like, fuck man, when's Les and Jake coming back on? I was like, at that point I'm sitting there thinking like Straight Edge was always really funny to me because like Minor Threat sounds good to my ear, but then when they're like, we don't smoke, we don't drink, we don't fuck, I'm like, I started doing all those things when I was 13 and it went really well for me.
I'm like, yeah, no wonder you're so fucking angry.
For me, there was genuinely a time where I was like, this guy knows what he's talking about. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was 15, I got X's tattooed on my hands.
15? That's wow.
And then they're not. But I got, I started getting tattoos around 15. I got my hands tattooed immediately after that, nailed to the X, fucking
right.
But like, I was like, I was a fucking crazy kid, right? And finding punk rock was really cool because now there's community, there's there's things to go to, there's like, but then finding Straight Edge, finding this thing where like you could kind of, if you went to a punk show and you're like, I'm not gonna drink. Fuck you, pussy. Have a beer.
100%.
Fuck you. But then having something to call it. Oh, they're doing a thing now.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally.
Like it kind of gave it this weird.
Well, it's cool that you had that because that was definitely, never a thing. Or if people were not drinking. They were just minding their own business about it, right?
Yeah.
There was never a, you know what I mean, like a sect of militant kids
Oh,
that
dude.
were,
Yeah.
you know, that were standing up for themselves to get away from that. Because
Sure.
I definitely never felt the peer pressure to drink because I pre-gamed the show, probably
Right,
showed up
right.
drinking or whatever.
Yeah,
right?
there
But
was
it-
no pressure involved at all.
If
I might have been
you're-
like, come on, have a drink with me. I might have been that pressure.
Yeah.
If you're like the 2 or 3 kids that at the show that aren't doing that,
Yeah.
you know, you might kind of feel like very much in it, unless you have something to call it or like.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
absolutely.
And then you start
yeah.
discovering these bands that like live by that, right? And then you start going to shows where it's like 95% straight edge kids,
See, I think
and
that,
they're all
yeah.
so angry, dude.
We're
Yeah.
They're all
from the outside looking in, I was always thinking like, you know, PMA unity. You know what I mean? This idea of community and stuff like that is it spans the entire genre of punk rock. But when I look at a hardcore show, I'm like, something tells me I'm not allowed in there, or I'm not going to be treated as well as that. But maybe because I'm the one that they're fucking shitting on, like, you know,
But
in
it's-
that sense, like Gorilla Biscuits, I've seen a million times, but I wouldn't go to a Judge show.
Sure, no,
You know
of
what
course.
I mean,
I
right?
mean, there's
Like-
definitely the 2 sides. Like there's the
Militant
posy-core
fucking-
kind of
yeah.
like, you know, it's all about the scene and being positive.
And we're gonna sing a little in the
yeah,
song
yeah,
and have
yeah,
some
dude,
fun.
a sing along and then a spin kick. Like everyone's having a good time, you know.
We listened to your playlist, and I think that was the thing where
Yeah, well, it was so funny because Johnny's been like watching a lot of like hardcore documentaries
Sure,
leading
yeah.
up to
go to
this.
Tubi. There's so much stuff there.
Yeah.
Every
Like,
scene individually
Yeah,
is so much cool
and
shit.
it's like, and before we met, like I didn't listen to punk rock at all. It's just been the last like 6 years or whatever, getting into it. But I still like I can't get on board with like hardcore, and then he'll be watching the documentary and they're talking about it in such like an enlightened way,
Sure.
you know. And I'm like, all right. And then it cuts to the music, and I'm like, that's what you get from that.
Yeah. But you know, I don't think like
It's such like a bad recording.
Yeah.
And it's
Oh,
scream along
absolutely.
if she doesn't know the song.
and
or
it
whatever.
hasn't been
Listen
mastered
to the lyrics.
Yeah.
I'm like, I am trying to listen
Yeah.
to the lyrics.
Totally. There's no like, oh shit, this is Keith Morris at this venue. It's so cool or
Yeah.
nothing.
I don't understand. Like this was
Yeah.
the first venue that would allow
For sure. Yeah. There's none of that for her.
Yeah. No, and fair enough, you know. But you know, when I was a teenager, and like especially you grow up in a small town, the music that you could had access to was essentially much music
Yeah.
and
Sure.
the
Yeah.
radio,
Of course.
or like if you knew what to look for at the record shop.
Yes.
Yeah.
But you had to, you know, and even then you might have to special order it. you
Yeah.
know?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah. You're taking like a $20 swing, and you don't have a lot of money.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like it's you could be stuck with with a record for a little while. That
Yeah,
sucks.
and then these 5 dudes show up in town in a van with like a fucking drum kit and a bass cab and a couple amps, and they just like rip up the fucking youth center, you know.
Oh yeah, dude.
And then you're like, oh, this is music, you know.
Yeah,
This is,
yeah.
Absolutely.
and it's so much about the live show too. Like it's so
Right,
much,
yeah.
like, but you know, I feel like there's like the militant stuff. Like there's definitely like all that FSU Courage Crew. Like there's like one of the songs on that playlist is Earth Crisis.
Yes.
Which is my like one of the OG hardcore bands. OG like they made a splash, you know.
Yeah, for
But
sure.
the lyrics of that song are all just like a firestorm to purify, and it's like street by street, block by block,
Yeah.
we're coming, and it's like it's so funny. Like
Yeah.
even as someone that like is part of that,
Yeah.
it's still like so funny
Right.
that someone like the idea that someone on the outside would hear that and then be like, oh, they take it seriously.
Oh, yeah, to say
Yeah.
the least.
But then the reality is that some of them were, though. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah.
So I existed in this place where I'm like, yeah, but we're all just like, you know, it's just music, right? Like,
well,
Yeah.
well, I think that it should be just music, but I think that with the level of intensity, particularly for this stuff, it does attract the wrong element.
yeah.
I think
Yeah.
for a lot of times, I mean, that's the reason that Judge doesn't play anymore. You know what I mean? That's
oh, buddy.
or you know what I mean? When bands like fucking like Screwdriver or whatever adopt this
Screwdriver's
fucking
nuts,
shit,
dude.
and you know what I mean, and then
But
fucking.
I don't think
and
Screwdriver
then-
was straight edge. I think
well,
they were
no,
just
I think they were
fucked.
openly racist band.
Yeah, no, they were that. Yeah.
You know what I
But
mean? And
so-
there's a lot of like if you're gonna like find your way through this thing, like from hardcore, from like a DC, like Bad Brains, and then like if that's the seed, and then branch out from there or whatever.
Sure.
There's a lot of like, you know, more fun, like stuff, and then a lot of like really heavy shit, like when Murphy's Law is like somebody's gonna get their head kicked tonight. When I love that shit, and then there's like other bands that come on and I'm like, I gotta get the fuck out of here, man.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think there's you start to see a lot of S's tattooed on guys. You start to see some like some heavy shit, and I never see any of that stuff. Like there's like motorcycle and gang culture and all that stuff is like huge, out west, and I think a lot of these dudes are just tough guys, and they're gonna fucking go to any show or whatever that is.
Find any environment where that behavior is acceptable.
For sure, and really kick the shit out of a kid in a pit that is just like kind of about the music. So you know what I mean. There is a lot of like the bridge to this, like, is you got to find the right way in.
Sure.
Because there is a lot of especially in Vancouver, there's a scene that is like, incredibly progressive and incredibly, like no bigotry allowed, no any racism, sexism, anything like that.
But that's what every punk rock scene is supposed to be, or claims to be.
Yeah, exactly. It's up to you to police it.
Yeah.
And like and do that well. And I think that for whatever reason, you know what I mean. Like hardcore is definitely going to get painted in a negative light, I think, forever. But just for like the nature of that sound has to be intense, and it's going to attract intense people.
Oh, dude, it's so good though. Like it's all just riffs and breakdowns,
right?
And at a live show, like, look, I don't dance.
What more do you want?
90 minutes, you're headbanging, you're fucking, going a little crazy, and then it's over and you walk away,
Yeah, you never danced with a girl. You never, you never thought like let's hang back and get a drink. See what this lady's up to.
No, dude. If she wasn't impressed by my fucking two-stepping, then like, I don't think I have much to offer.
It was never gonna work. Yeah.
I respect the shit out of that. I think that's the thing that always opens my eyes to to a level of fandom, because like I'm a kid that like every year I come back from Vegas with no voice because I've been screaming my lungs out of the pit, like all of that stuff. You know what I mean? But you know what I mean? I'm definitely like more having fun, and that's obviously I'm ripping American cigarettes and drinking too heavy too or whatever.
I mean, listen, I do all that stuff now.
Yeah, like where does okay, so from straight edge, and then you played as well, right?
Yeah, I played in bands.
So like how does like a 15-year-old kid that's looking for something that found it, you know what I mean, kind of like mellow out and find his way, you know what I mean?
Well, we I moved to Montreal when I was 18, so like until then it was like, we'd go to Halifax for shows, like 18 Visions, Strung Out, like just any band that we'd even remotely heard of.
Oh yeah.
That was playing in Halifax or Moncton or whatever, we'd make the trip, because they didn't come to Charlottetown most of the time.
Yeah.
Right.
And then I moved to Montreal. And it's a whole fucking world, dude.
No shit.
It's every band you've ever heard of is here on Tuesday, dude.
Yeah.
And so then it became a lot more like, just kind of accessible,
For sure.
But I started playing in bands, and we were okay. We did.
We always do a thing here. Do you have what's the most embarrassing band name that that you're in? We've had some good ones. As a hardcore kid, it's probably all like
So my
Defiant Rebellion.
When my
Peace Decreasing.
No, it's even crazier than that. When my buddy Kyle and I and a few others, like in Charlottetown, we had a band that was like, it was a fake band, kind of. Like we recorded
your
this.
Kids and you got a couple tracks kind of thing.
And we recorded them in the basement. We put them out on like MySpace or whatever, and then we put up like a link that you could sell. You could buy a mini disc of it. Of like the like that's exactly the era when there's
hell yeah, dude.
And it was called The Heroes of 1973 as portrayed by famous vampires.
That fucking rules,
dude,
man.
It was all Kyle, but like we all, like everyone, we all went down to the basement and like did something on it, and it's like, and then he kept every couple weeks he'd be like, I got 50 more purchases from Japan. Like we literally sold like 300, 400, 500 mini discs.
Oh my god!
In Japan. Like I don't know, it got on a subreddit or whatever. But that was like a non-band that somehow kind of just got a little bit viral.
That's
Yeah,
cool, man.
that's
Any
great.
traction, especially like when your kids or whatever, that's gotta feel awesome.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
it was insane. It was insane.
They never got you over there to do
We're
any
big.
shows.
Oh, I mean, no, we
Yeah.
sold like we
Didn't
sold
do a
one
tour.
album in each town. I don't think it's enough. Like,
You can fill a room in one.
and
yeah.
also, there's no way we could have ever duplicated that music. Like, it was like this
Right.
weird grindcore thing. And
Yeah.
my buddy Ray is singing, but he's like reading out of just random pages of some book. Like, there's no lyrics written, and like, you know, I'm coming in.
doing
with my-
Vonnegut? What is that?
Yeah.
It's hilarious.
And I'm coming in with my bass and just trying to make it as staticky and the
Yeah.
feedback as possible. And it was, you know.
That rule is so hard. Is there when did you get to a point where you're in a band where you're like, oh, okay, we're actually okay?
In Montreal, I was in a band, Adult Crash, and we played a bunch of shows. We did like a little, you know, touring around and stuff, and it was fun. It was,
Yeah.
yeah, but I was like, no, I'm barely a musician, dude. So like, I was in this band with these super talented people,
Yeah.
and always feeling like, oh, I gotta fucking catch up, you know.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah, dude.
And so eventually, I just like started enjoying music instead of trying to be.
Oh man,
that
I
guy.
got a bunch of guitars here, and one day I'll get back into them and
Oh,
pick them up. And
I
it's
love
just
to
like,
play.
I never had any like natural ability or like the patience to and determination to to get better.
Buddy, I
That's
love
on
to
me.
play.
Yeah.
And I can't pick up a guitar without being like, yeah, I could do this for a living. But like at a certain point, I realized this maybe not it. You know.
yeah. Well, that's interesting. Where do you find comedy then?
Genuinely, so I'm 25, 6 years old, and I'm like still playing in bands like a little bit, and you know, just being part of the scene, either putting on shows or, you know, that's my community,
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
And then like my buddy Evan and Ed, the two buddies, Evan goes, why don't we do the comedy mic open nest sometime? A comedy nest open
There you
mic
go.
sometime.
Yeah.
And like a bomb went off in my brain. Like, you can just sign up and do that.
Right.
Like-
Yeah, man.
I had only ever seen comedy on television.
Yeah.
I had only ever seen like, you know, or a Just for Laughs gala where it's
Yeah.
at Plastic
Dude, all the
like,
time, like Comedy Central. Like, growing up with that, like, did you follow? Like, were you into comedy as much as you were music?
Oh,
or-
absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
But like, and when I was like a teenager, I did like a couple improv classes, and I was like, I don't like working in a team.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're a team, and trust
Improv
me.
is
Yeah,
made up
we don't.
garbage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my thing's funnier.
Yeah,
And,
exactly. I can need the rest of you to shut the fuck up right now.
100%.
So like I kind of like and I was always writing. Like I was in school to for creative writing and stuff, to try and get into like script writing. And then he says, why don't we just sign up for the open mic? And I'm like, my brain exploded. I'm like, fuck music. Like I just want to be on a stage. That's what
Totally.
that's what I realized is I just
Yeah.
want to be on that. You know.
And in the spirit of improv, when you're the funniest one, and fuck this band too, because
Yeah,
I don't
yeah,
want to
yeah.
load in fucking this guy's drums and shit like
Oh,
that. Get me
dude.
up there and let me do my set. I'm the fuck out of here.
As
Yeah.
as the bassist, I could never complain because I'd have like an 8x10 cab that had to get
Yeah.
loaded in, and then it's like,
Oh,
all right, I'll
man.
carry your fucking snare drum. It's like,
There's the camaraderie, like just like the shit that you guys got to do. I mean, even on any level to stay motivated, and I mean, I fucking actually bang out a living and stuff doing that. There's
Yeah.
so much goddamn work, and
but touring's so fun though. Like,
I would love to, like, I've been in the van for like a few nights, and I would, I'd live in there.
yeah,
Sounds
yeah.
awesome.
I wouldn't do that now, but
Yeah.
I'm glad that when I was like 18 to 22, 23, I got those miles in. You know,
Yeah.
Totally.
because I got to see a lot of Canada and a little bit of the States that I played illegally, and
Gotta do it.
yeah, but I got to see a bunch of shit and meet a bunch of people. Like, it's truly community, global community, right?
Well,
Like,
yeah, and I mean, okay, so when we were talking at the show the other week there, Bane is
One of the best.
One of the best. I mean, and my best friend in the world, shout out Shelby, is he's a huge Converge fan.
yeah.
And I don't know any Converge fan that doesn't have like Jacob Bannon artwork tattooed all
Yep,
over their
yeah, yeah,
entire
yeah.
body.
I got
Fucking bird plastered across
the
his chest.
black
all the,
and red ink
yeah,
work. Yeah.
the, all the Jane Doe like liner note artwork and stuff, sleeve and shit
Sure.
like that. The amount of fucking black ink that this guy sat there and just gone into, and I mean, we love music and come together in a lot of different ways. Definitely, like independent hip hop. And but when we get to rock and roll, there's this like weird thing. I always say like the difference between us is like I'm Dillinger 4 and he's Dillinger Escape, and
that's pretty good.
yeah,
That's very good.
If you know, you know, and that's like there's a hard line in the sand there. And doing the research and stuff, like I mean, you always see a Bane T-shirt, you hear the stuff, and in my head, I'm like, that might be one of those bands that might be like a bridge too far for me or whatever.
Sure,
they're awesome.
They're
Like
so
good.
fucking
why
good.
Does why is Converge as big? That band is too brutal for no fucking reason. I can't understand.
Converge, I will say Converge was never my favorite band, but
they're on a pedestal and highly respected for a reason that I don't like sonically understand.
I mean that just
musically.
like yeah, dude, talk about a band that abuses the double kick, you know. But like they're just fast, grindy, like metal, but hard.
I think when hardcore gets to metal, that's probably where I check.
It's right on the cusp, right?
Yeah.
And so you can kind of lean. The hardcore to me is a lot more cleaner, just like it's just riffs and like heavy, you know. And
totally
trying to get metal technical, trying to prove that you fucking know all these scales.
Dude,
and,
totally.
You know, that's great. I love metal, but it's like
but like even like the New York does it with the Cro-Mags. There's always like these like crossover kind of bands or whatever where I'm like, you're going like. I don't know, a bridge too far or whatever. There's a limit.
It's a hat on a hat kind of deal. Like it's like you're doing too much.
Yes,
that's how I kind of felt. But Converges.
But also, so I think and maybe for the unschooled or like if you're just trying to discover what you can through like like LimeWire, Napster when it's available or whatever you could get from like a music store. There was a guy that ran a CD shop. He also did like framing, put on shows, whatever shit like that or whatever. So we'd hand out flyers. And my buddy would always get like a metal CD. And it'd be like Dimmu Borgir or something, $30, double disc, all that shit.
That's good.
And then I would be like, I want like an Epitaph or like I always go for comps because I'm like, there's like 30 bands.
Yeah, you could discover 3 bands you like on that. Yeah,
exactly. So I would always go that thing, and then he would always feel bad because it's like $9.99, so he'd give me like 2 or 3 of them.
Right.
So like you amass all this shit, and then from like Epitaph and Fat Records, like the hardcore that I knew was like Sick of It All or H2O or Agnostic Front, and like kind of all that shit. Yeah. And then when you talk to a hardcore guy, they're like, you know what I mean?
Okay, but genuinely, I love all those bands. But I felt like you already knew those, right? So
absolutely.
So that's like not like Punk 101, but like that's like a little bit more accessible, like
absolutely.
You know. And so I kind of tried to pick out some things that like I love, but not necessarily everyone's gonna love.
For sure.
And Bane
like,
is
that rabbit hole goes deep.
Oh yeah.
But
I had to very much
Bane
limit.
is like definitely but like it's an outlier. If you like Swan Song, fucking rips. That whole note album is fucking fantastic.
Man, absolutely one of like some of their best stuff. And like I said, it's all about the live show. It's all about the sing-alongs. And like that fucking sing-along that they have, like when Armageddon is locked alone, I will come back for you, dude. That's so fun. I
would drop everything and go to that show for that moment.
Yeah, dude. For sure, one of the best. But Bane is like to me like. For me personally, like I got into them, like they used to, like when they would be in Canada, they would like sleep on my couch or sleep 5 sleeping bags on my floor kind of deal, like and like
they're like not a bit like they're not a small band. Like how does that come about?
Well,
like,
they were kind of then, you know, but
was there like sorry, because I mean I watched the documentary and I kind of went like I didn't know there was like the Converge connection there or whatever. I've been talking to some friends, you know what I mean. I was kind of like trying to take a bite out of this, but was there like that allure, like holy shit, like a not necessarily like a super group, or was was it like a slower build than from
kind of like they were genuinely my top 3 bands that existed at the time, and so it was fun that they were also like kind of pals. Not best friends. I see them when they come through town, kind of deal, but like it was kind of cool to be. You know, like I said, it's accessible.
If you can get to the level, like I mean, to have the band that you love sleeping on the floor, there's there's a cool feeling there.
Oh, did I fantasize that my band would open for them? Definitely.
were we good enough?
Were we good enough? Nah, dude. Nah, no chance. But like, I didn't pay for tickets though. You know?
But you're in the room, bro. You're in the room.
Yeah. But so they were like a band that would come through town, and they were like I was a big fan, and then they like kind of became friends and stuff. But the epitome of like if you want to talk posy hardcore, like all their songs are about like we can make this scene better and like just like fucking get your head out of your ass, man. And it's like, and you know, there's I think it holds up.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
it does. Like for a breath, it's like a I'm not gonna say like a breath of fresh air or something, but it was I might have had my guard up a little bit when we were gonna go into this. I'm like,
Sure.
okay, we're gonna crack. Like I think like a couple weeks ago, like we missed recording last weekend, and there's been like the hardcore thing's been on my mind, and
Sure.
I'm like, oh, okay, we're circling the drain here.
Yeah,
We're about to go down a rabbit hole, and we did, and then immediately with everything that I might have, you know, thought or whatever was all put aside because you know what I mean. There's such the punk rock, like the feel is right there as far as everybody's welcome, especially with the documentary and shit. Like, hey, try not to punch the fuck out of each other.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
yeah. Oh, dude.
And that is awesome. Like if I could, you know, bring my girlfriend to the show, then that's. And not fucking fear for for my own life.
You would
mind
never
her.
at like a Bane show, no way. But there's like there are definitely bands where like you know, there's definitely bands where that would have been.
There's ones she won't come to me with. And I totally get it, but I think that you know, when you have this you know, like a mystique around a genre or whatever, it's cool that like a band like that has to come out and they have to put it in the forefront. They have to say, no, we're doing something differently.
Yeah,
you know what I mean. And we're doing it the right way. Which
the
is
point,
really cool.
the point is that like it's supposed to be a good time for everyone.
Totally.
And like I feel like that band is really that message. Like, don't come if you're not ready to have a good time.
Totally.
Yeah.
And that's why I love. I'll jam like the note. Can we start again?
Yeah.
When I was like, dude, when I was like 14 years old or however old, that's the deepest shit I ever heard in my life.
I listened to all of them all the way through, and those two stand out in a, you know what I mean, in a way where, you know, I'm about to turn 34, but I'm like, fuck, I wish I would have found this when I needed them.
It was
you know?
good. It was good times, man. Then that other one I sent you was Superhero, which I think is a great example of like just a straight edge being ridiculous. Like it's like,
well, like it opens in a way, and honestly, like with guitar tones and stuff, I'm a big fan of Good Riddance. And if you swapped out like vocalists on that, it wouldn't sound too you know, like too different or whatever. So like musically, you know, I'm going, oh, this isn't too brutal, this isn't too anything. Yeah. It's funny because they're kind of like, come on down with us, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're kind of like it in the sewer drain, like, come on down, Georgie, and I'm fucking and I'm totally back with the exploration and stuff. There was like Discord Records was fun going over the past week, where there's a lot of stuff on there. I mean like other than like Minor Threat and Fugazi and like Dag Nasty, I think there's a whole lot in there that I've definitely overlooked.
Yeah.
So on this journey of hardcore, I do have to laugh because the best song that I found in this whole thing isn't a hardcore song. The best song Discord ever put out is this band called 3 and this song called Swan Street. Well, I'll send it to you after but it's been like this hilarious journey through music or whatever, and I had to laugh my fucking ass off yesterday when I was like, oh, Ian, you put this out, you fucking do. And then
but wait, is he on it, or he just like it's on on Discord?
That's been another great thing about this about like what this fucking show is, and what, like, you know what I mean, like friends in punk rock and stuff are, because I've reached out to my man Matt Earl, Dead End Drive-In, Early Onset Records. This guy's just amazing, you know, musician and friend from Vancouver. So I thought I had something here that was like, oh, this is something that Matt might not know about, or you know what I mean. In the back of my head, that's what I was hoping. But I asked him, and I sent him the link that I had for this YouTube song. Just like I wanted to go through compilations and stuff. Like Flex Your Head is like is a classic Discord thing, and then I'm just like, okay, what other comps have they done? And this Swan Street is an acoustic song on this comp, State of the Union or something like that it's called. And Matt goes, oh, I've never heard the acoustic version, but this is the entire album. This is the story behind the band. Ian McKay. And I'm like, fuck, man, this guy knows absolutely everything. And then put me on to an indie band called Archers of Loaf or something like that. You know those guys?
Archers of Loaf, yeah.
Fuck, man, he gave me this icky metal album that like changed my life yesterday.
That's good shit. That's like me and my buddies driving to fucking Boston or driving to like some show on the road, and it's like, all right, we need a little break. Yeah. And then it'd be that. Then it would be like the Cardigans would come on, and then Black Sabbath album, and then back to hardcore. Back to
full circle. What is the my favorite thing is that we're subgenre dorks, and if you get 4 punks in a car, you're gonna argue over like what is what's going in the tape player or whatever.
Sure.
So like what would be what's the split faction of hardcore? Are you guys, is somebody throwing like
back in the day?
yeah,
back
somebody
in the,
throwing a Youth Brigade CD out the window because fuck this, or is there
No, I don't think that, but like definitely it would be anything that I was the problem.
Yeah.
Because
I was too, my friend. That's
anything
why I asked
that was
the question.
like pop punky.
Sure.
I was like, you fucking
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
shit.
that's my jam.
I could dig it now.
Yeah.
But like back anything
We'll go to a
like
show, have a good time.
Simple Plan, Good Charlotte,
Yeah,
anything that, and especially Fall Out Boy.
Oh,
They-
those
when-
are my guys.
When that
She's
shit
got me
started coming
she's
out,
buttered
dude,
me up to those.
like
yeah.
music is dead.
Yeah.
Like
They took our thing and they fucked it.
yeah. Why can't there just be like riffs and like an angry dude screaming about nothing? Like this is what we need.
The problem in the world is these assholes. When you do that, where was the moment? Do you remember hearing a song where you're like, oh fuck? Like, do you remember a song? Is there a guilty pleasure that you have on a playlist or something where
No, I think I just hated them out of principle. But now,
Yeah.
now it'll like come on. Like if I'm at work, we'll have a playlist going, or like it'll come on, and I'm like, okay, I don't hate it. You know, like
was that? Did you have that same kind of like say like a Buzzcock song came on or something? Was there a would you give leeway because it came out a long time ago, or
no,
or
but
was anything like pop
they're
punky?
great though.
Oh, for sure. Or like say like the Descendants or something. Would they come out with a little bit of
No, I think I just was trying to hate on posers.
Okay,
You know what I
fair
mean?
enough,
Like,
fair enough,
I
fair
think I was like, fuck this shit. And like, I don't know. It wasn't my sound. Also, my buddies were like really into the Smiths and Morrissey. And I couldn't stand that, dude.
Yeah, I draw a hard line there.
Yeah, not for me. Not for me.
But like I don't know. I could also be like I think with like if you can admit to yourself that you like the pop punk, then you realize that you've just been a sucker for love songs since you're like 13 years old or whatever.
yeah.
So I'll bump The Cure
No,
and all
but,
kinds
like-
of shit. I got my sad boy jams for my headphones when no one's looking.
But it's complete. Like looking back, it's completely like you said, like genre versus genre, right?
Yeah.
Because Jimmy Eat World, that's one of the best bands that has ever existed.
No shit, dude.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
with you.
If you put like if you put studded belts on them and like
Yep.
fucking ripped up,
Oh,
like
totally.
that, they could easily have been sold as Simple Plan, Good Charlotte,
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
totally.
But
yeah.
because they were a rock and roll band that like had some like kind of more sensitive, that's fine.
Yeah, for sure. Okay.
But because this
Yeah.
punk band is going a little too fuck you.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Totally. It's so funny where to draw the line, especially like if you're in a van, trying to like make it as a band or whatever. Then like, imagine if somebody knocked on the door. Like we say it all the time, we're for sale.
Yeah.
Like, we
Open
would
to
bow to
selling
corporate
out, yeah.
sponsors.
Oh,
Actually,
yeah.
that being said, but this episode brought to you by Orca Skateboarding.
Nice.
For all your
Shout out.
yeah, for all your skateboarding needs.
Yeah.
Orca is the brand. But that's actually just a small business helping small businesses. But I think that any militant stance against anybody like making a living in music
Selling
or
out,
whatever.
yeah.
Is,
Is,
Yeah.
and it's none of my
hilarious 'cause we're
business.
doing
Like,
it
Yeah,
well.
exactly.
I don't know, like especially in comedy too. We just want somebody to pay us to do our thing.
yeah,
so-
of course.
Yeah.
And like find the people that like it. Like
Totally.
fuck the haters.
Exactly.
I was definitely a hater of a lot of things, but like I look, I had a lot of strong opinions.
Oh, for sure.
I was straight edge and like all this other stuff, and then you kind of like find yourself more, and you're like, that probably doesn't matter. You know,
Yeah.
that probably is not something that I need to care.
I think you'll
Yeah.
add more years to your life if you just approach things with like a little bit more positivity. I
Yeah,
think
yeah,
rather
yeah.
than like
Yeah.
it's so much easier to hate. Like it costs nothing to be nice, but it's hard to do sometimes, right? People will get on your fucking
Sure.
nerves and shit. Like I'm probably, a victim of that, giving people a little too much leeway and stuff. But like I'd rather be everybody's buddy than be as fucking mad as a hardcore guy at 7 a.m. trying to like play something like on my job site. I'm a plumber, man. So like
Yeah.
I've listened to a lot of hardcore where it's like
Sure,
it's
you
too
gotta
early
get
in the
fired
morning
up in the morning.
for
yeah.
that, buddy.
Well, that's when I listen to it. When I'm like, fuck this, like and then you put something on and it just shakes your brain.
yeah.
But like, I feel like now I can enjoy something or not enjoy something, and it doesn't have to be part of my identity.
For
Yeah,
sure.
exactly.
But as a 16-year-old punk,
It takes a long
Yeah.
time for us to
Yeah,
shake
yeah.
that.
You don't have to die on every hill.
Oh,
Yeah.
my God. I've just spoken way too passionately at a bar about some shit that doesn't matter for, you know what I mean? Far too long. Like I've looked at the rest of the people that I'm talking to, and they have this look in your face like, "Oh, are you still talking?"
Oh yeah, one of those.
Yeah. And,
so you didn't actually care when you asked.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly. You asked a question and I started to answer, and then you interrupted and went on your whole own tangent.
Well, yeah, I think like if somebody asks me a question and I'm like, well, to answer that, you really have to start at the beginning. They'll immediately check out.
Okay, let's go back to 2004.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's when my eyes glazed over.
100%. You know what I mean? But if you don't, you know what I mean? There's something about that kind of that ridiculous like passion or whatever that drives dorks together. You know what I mean? Right? Like, we'll find each other in the, you know what I mean, in a city because you know, like for that reason or whatever, right? And I need, you know, Jackie here for checks and balances and things like that because there are so many more important things. But you know what I mean? But when the spark can be ignited, then you know what I mean. For the past like few days or whatever, I'm into the you know, the thing that I've always loved doing since I was a kid that I haven't, you know, you always say like you haven't found the time or anything like that. No, fuck that. You haven't found anything to like light the spark.
Yeah, that got you hooked or gave you a reason to. For me, like, you know, this whole week has been like I'm not still only listening to straight edge hardcore music, you know.
Yeah.
But it was a great excuse to go back and be like, those are some tracks that really meant a lot to me, and like really kind of like I can pinpoint the moment in my life. You know what I mean?
Totally.
And those are worth looking back on.
Well, yeah, no, like I'm glad that like anybody gets a chance to do it. Like I'm a big fan of Avail. And like as far as you know, like you could say, like I think it's like whatever Fat Wreck decided to, you know, sign or whatever, because there's a million bands that sound just like that I had no idea about that now I'm gonna, you know, find out about. But Tim Barry's fucking like songwriting, all the solo shit now is really great too. But like Avail Over the James is this like really special record to me.
Sure, yeah.
And over the pandemic, like they haven't been playing forever, but like he was on some podcast and hearing that kind of same thing. There's a lot of talk, people saying, you know, we want to see an Avail show, and he'd kind of put that to the side years ago, and then goes back and listens to his own album and goes, holy fuck, there's some shit on here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really good. So, you know, and then now, you know, I'm gonna get to see like a bucket list band. You know what I mean? That,
they are.
You know, they're not. There's a lot more activity in Avail land than there has been in the past decade.
Okay.
You know, so like I'm gonna go out of my way, and I think that we're not very far from Virginia. I think now that I'm on this side of the country anyway. So
I mean, you're definitely closer.
Yeah.
Right? You know, so like I think that's there for any excuse. You know what I mean? I think. Like corporate America right now is exploiting nostalgia for anybody at our age demographic.
Everything.
You know,
every franchise has to come back.
For sure, right?
Yeah,
and
even the When We Were Young fest in Vegas with all of like the old pop punk bands and shit. We were just watching every single reel they posted on Instagram.
Oh, for sure. It'd be like, what a fucking party this would be.
Yeah.
And like if the pop punk thing was there, but like punk rock bowling is like it's the thing that I do. 9 years ago, I went there and I found a kid with like a rainbow mohawk just like passed out in the gutter, and I just gave him a bottle of water. And his friends come around the corner. They thought that I was like robbing him. And for a second, I'm like, hold on, guys. But I'm from Canada, and this guy, his name's Eric Wood, and I love him very much. He looked me in the eyes and he goes, "Fuck, man, that was really nice of you. Do you like drugs?" And we've been friends ever since. Too. Like we just moved across the country, and I don't have the money to go this year. And over the past couple of weeks, they've moved like mountains to buy me plane tickets and festival pass because that's what because
it's part of the tradition.
Yeah, exactly right. Like you know, the lineup this year isn't that great. Fuck Devo.
He's not punk.
Exactly right. So there's a little bit of that still happening, right?
Yeah.
But the whole thing is, you know, is the community is about, you know, friends and stuff like that, and the fact that our whole group between like Montreal and New York and you know, Los Angeles, San Francisco and stuff. The fact that we're all like in the past 9 years we're, you know, all separated. We only get one shot to do this every year. That you know what I mean. If you can, you know, find the way to do it organically in the right way, where you know what I mean. You know, I don't know, but I'm waiting for, you know, X-Men 97 or whatever I'm liking, so I shouldn't shit on like, you know, all of this like repurposed nostalgia coming back.
It can be done well, but it is shameless.
Oh yeah.
I mean, like we're at the age now where probably a lot of our friends are having kids, right?
Oh, of course, my brother just had a baby,
and so it must be really fun to get to watch a new season of that show you loved, and you know, introduce your kid, and then it's like there's like a generational thing there, but they're absolutely trying to manufacture those moments. You know what I mean?
They really are. But I'm trying to think, like, I mean, right now it's it's basically like an ace up their sleeve. They already have the like the groundwork has kind of been laid out. But you know, with a big relationship with my pops, especially with like my parents not being together and stuff, so like the short amount of times that you get with my dad, and some of like those like memories or whatever that stick out. And he read X-Men, and then X-Men was on the TV in the 90s and shit like that or whatever, right? So like with him doing the voices and all that shit, like they essentially like they fucking nailed it then. So like why wouldn't you like roll it back? Like from like a business perspective, I'd be like, fuck, you'd be dumb not to go back to the well to do again. But now it's just like you know, I mean, how many like billions can you make off the same fucking 4 Ninja Turtles is insane to me. But
well, I mean, it's two dudes that were like indie comic book
that
writers.
Original the volume 1 is amazing
for years and years and years, and then eventually it started picking up, and then eventually they made the most brilliant marketing fucking play of all time. Like, people talk about the Star Wars thing being all built on toys, but like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, that was a fucking move for toys, dude.
It was insane.
We literally have a
Donnie,
turtle.
No, I love it.
But like if I could, you know,
I have a Ninja Turtles tattoo.
Who's your guy?
All of them.
Great question.
With
Glad you
Casey
asked.
Jones and Splinter. And there's a lyric from the band Throwdown.
Okay. Shout out my Eric, who I just talked about, just sent me a Throwdown album yesterday.
Throwdown is like, that's one of the ones that doesn't hold up.
Yeah.
But
it really kicked me in the teeth last night at about 11 o'clock.
I love it, but it's like trash. But they had this lyric of like, this is a family. I count on you. You count on me. And it's like, and then it's like the biggest breakdown of all time. I just thought it was so funny to get like the Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
And, like,
yeah.
it's like, and I'll show you later, but it's not gonna look. But it's the Turtle Van and then the Turtles, and it's like, oh, we're all brothers, you know. And I'm like, this is punk rock. Like, we're all just sewer dwellers in a van, you know, like.
That is so. If I you know, you see those memes or whatever, guys will see that and be like, "Fuck yeah,
yeah,
that sounds awesome."
That is a fan, yeah.
That fucking rules. If shout out to Turtle Power, my good friend Dawn, and her man Mikey named their son Raphael. So
that's sick. It feels like Mikey's coming. That's
Dawn and Mikey's already there. We got Dawn, Mikey, and Raffy.
Oh wow.
So,
we'll see.
Holy moly.
Yeah. That's there's a level of commitment.
They're not on the hook for 4 babies.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would be it would have to be like an April and Casey situation or whatever to make that work. But either way, all the minutia aside.
I'm gonna name my kids Fry and Bender, so you know, get ready for that.
That would be fucking pretty awesome.
I used to joke that I wanted to name my first our first kid Satan.
Yeah.
My ex-wife didn't like that.
No. The eggs didn't go over. Fuck, we were at a birthday show the other day. You know Nick Banks?
Yep.
Shout out Nick Banks. Very funny dude. We're all nobody showed up to this birthday show that we were on, so there's a bunch of good comics just fucking around. We were having a really fun time. And he was doing some bit about giving his daughter like a white name so that she could, you know, get like jobs or whatever. And I went up after him and I was like, I'm gonna name my kid Keisha Jenkins so she never has to work a day in her life. And it was the most, I can't believe I said that on the internet, but I loved it. It was this moment that I'm like, I really should have recorded that. There's, you know, every once in a while you get you get a free pass.
Yeah. I mean, if the line's good enough. But like, Nick,
exactly.
You also have to know your audience. Nick is someone that would die for that.
100%. Yeah, exactly.
Not necessarily a room full of people that paid tickets to see.
No. It's so stupid too because like none of that like I know what I think is funny and there's shit that like works in my act or whatever. So it was just a joke that like I felt bad telling and I was like, ooh.
Sometimes
that felt fun to edge there for a second.
Every once in a while you have like a new line or whatever and you're like, ooh, I don't know if I'm nervous because like this is good and I'm excited about it, or if I'm nervous because like, don't say it, dude.
That's like, it's so many of the jokes that I write where it's like, like I feel like this is funny, but I also feel like I should not be saying this.
The audience will let you know.
Yeah.
She's one of the only comics in the world that'll come back. She'd be like, they really pulled back on me there. I'm like, oh, when you started killing kids? Usually a crowd of 60-year-old people start to get uncomfortable at that time. But
sometimes
you
they
can get
love
away
it.
with a lot if you're smiling.
Yeah,
exactly,
100%. I love it. I love to watch it. There's moments in the back. because like you could. There's that thing about a comedian, like, oh, you can't blame the audience, but there's so many times when watching her set, it's like, you can blame the audience. These people are fucking dumb.
Sometimes the audience sucks, man.
Yeah,
Like,
and I'll
time.
tell them.
Oh, yeah.
I'll tell them repeatedly to go fuck themselves.
that's like my I feel like one of my like big superpowers in the last few years is that like one of my big pet peeve in comedy is like, oh, I guess you guys didn't like that or whatever.
Oh my god.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like you're admitting defeat or and so I just like flipped it and started being like, guys, that was funny.
I'll do that too. Yeah.
Until they're on my side and
Yeah.
then okay, I guess we'll do another one. But like just like
If you can sit in the pocket, like it gets from that
Oh.
uncomfortable back to funny again. Like
I love it.
That's
I'll
a
do
fucking.
that. Yeah, I'll be like, "Fuck you, that was hilarious,"
Yeah,
or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah.
See, again, I'm just a pussy. I want to be everybody's buddy. We'll move right along.
sometimes that's the right move.
Well,
but
no, I never admit defeat or whatever. I'll kind of laugh at it, like giggle it
Sure,
off to
sure,
myself,
but-
and then
but-
keep going. Yeah.
yeah, but it's definitely like, oh, they didn't like that one.
Oh, I can't
Oh,
stand.
yeah.
There's
I hate that.
you can see, right? Like you're going up there to to demand attention and entertain some fucking people or whatever. And as soon as you give them the upper hand,
Oh, yeah.
then,
It's like goes from like, hey guys, to like
Yeah.
Exactly.
as-
3 more minutes left.
Yes.
Yeah. As
Totally.
soon as like you can see that like they're like uncomfortable or
Yeah.
like want to get off stage, then it's like, oh no, this is
Yeah.
going downhill.
Yeah. We were actually at a show and it was really funny to see like a crop of newer comedians just deal with a hard room.
Sure.
You know what I mean? And we've bombed in harder rooms than this one that we were in or whatever. So it was really funny kind of watching the first guy eat it and then the comic table vibes start to shift. And you start to get like a good luck before you go up there. And you're like, no. This is where the money's made, right? Like this is the fun part is you get to go up and turn the fucking room around.
Yeah, you get to
right?
put that work in.
Exactly.
I was at
right?
a show the other night where that was the mindset.
Yeah.
Mhm.
First comic, new comic. Audience isn't giving them much.
Mhm.
Yeah.
They're not bombing,
Yep.
Right.
but they're definitely not killing.
Yeah.
And then the second comic, same. And I'm up third. I'm like, all right, I'm going to light these motherfuckers up.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I came out, and genuinely, I came out, and I fucking was swinging for the fences. And, like, you have those moments where you're like, that's exactly how that joke should be delivered.
100%.
That's and I'm, like, finding new tags
Yeah.
in my set.
Yes.
And these people are like, I'm like, you don't understand. I'm having a great set.
Yeah.
I'm bringing the energy. I'm
You
throwing
don't even
fastballs the right
realize.
way.
Yeah. Like, I'm putting in work right now. And then I come off stage, right? And there's Walter and Vance are there.
Yeah.
And I tell Walter, like, yo, that was work, man. Like, I fucking put it in.
Yeah.
And they still only gave me, you know?
Yeah.
And then he gives me this look like, I'll get it. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
that's
that must have been hard for you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And now I'm just waiting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then he goes up. He comes out and he's like, oh, that was that fucking good.
That is always like a hilarious like bomb or like when you don't do as well is when everyone's bombing before you and you have it in your mind like
You gotta.
I'm gonna be the one to turn this
Oh,
around.
Got it.
Yeah,
Oh,
and
yeah.
then you go up and just like eat shit or don't do well and it's like, all right, well that was extremely humbling.
Yeah. It's the great equalizer.
Yeah.
And it was like, it was like C plus kind of throughout. And I'm like, I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to, this is
Yeah.
where we crack them.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then the next comic's like, this is where we crack them.
Yeah.
And then the next comic's like, eh.
Yeah.
Oh man, you just go to like the back and everybody's been beat up. You know
Yo.
what I mean? It's the quiet drink around the bar, right?
Super fun. Thanks for having
Oh,
me,
yeah.
man.
Yeah, like before it, you're like, no, like they came here to laugh. You just gotta turn it around. Then you get off
Yeah.
stage, you're like, I don't know what the fuck their problem
Oh,
is. All right.
totally. Yeah, we'll
Yeah.
walk away. A lot of that stuff. They must not speak English because we were fucking
Yeah.
crushing.
Yeah, like it must be the language barrier.
They don't get the local references. That's not it.
You mentioned Bustan once in a 10-minute set, man. There's a lot of other.
Yeah.
You
A lot of
tried a
other
lot
shit.
of different things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But every city has a corner where you can buy drugs. They get
They-
the reference. Like,
They can piece it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, I had to figure a lot of that stuff out because, like, I think, like if you're in Vancouver, Vancouver has a drug problem and a housing crisis and stuff like that.
shout
you
out Hastings.
Absolutely, we love it. I got Jackie evicted from her place on that.
Yeah.
Not not doing enough drugs on that fucking.
That's exactly. Oh, doing too much actually.
Yeah, it was actually too much.
Yeah, that was my fault. But you have that. I think if you're from a place, you can, the crowd will give you a little bit of leeway and permission to kind of shit on it or whatever. When you're coming out here, you have to make that interesting for people that are across the country or whatever, right? So it was, a lot of jokes that I really like. I believe in, and I like kind of talking about that kind of stuff. It's the only kind of topical shit that I do, but also you're like, okay, wait a minute, I have to repackage this for somebody that's not from there, that might not know, or whatever, right? And then and still make the joke get over the way that it should.
Sure.
And I think that's like that's just like up to you to do the work.
Well, yeah, fair enough, but sometimes it's just not going to work. Like,
oh, for sure.
I have 15 minutes of material that I only do on the West Coast.
Yeah.
Like when I was living out in Gabriola.
Yeah.
Just across from Nanaimo there. And so I was doing a bunch of stuff out there, and like, the British Columbia, like the culture is very different than downtown Montreal. Like, just forest fire risk alone.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And, like, it's part of the culture to be conscious of that and to be like whatever, and you don't see as much smokers, or you don't see, and so I had like 10 to 15 minutes worth of jokes that, like, when I got back to Montreal, I was like, how am I going to make this work? And I was like, I'd have to add 2 minutes of explaining why this is funny.
Not worth it.
Prefacing
Next time
if
you
have
to
to
BC,
add
you
fat
can dust
to
those
it,
off.
exactly.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, and no joke is made better with more exposition.
With having to explain what you're talking about before you start talking about it.
Totally. Right?
Did have a firecracker though about Lytton though,
Oh, buddy, rest in peace, man. Too soon.
Oh,
Too
man,
soon.
yeah, they went through it.
They really did.
Yeah.
Oh man. But dude, we're landing the plane here. So tell us a little bit what you have. What's coming up? What's the deal with the game show?
So I have a game show. It's called Unpredictable on Instagram. Unpredictable_game.
Hell yeah.
And it's basically like me trying to trick comedians, right? Trick questions, and if they get it wrong, I take points off them. So it's basically me just trying to make my friends angry for points. And it's a lot of fun. It's like the whole point is like I'll ask a question, and if you give me a predictable joke or a predictable answer, you lose points. So I'll write a setup for a joke and then give it to some comedians. And then they come back with like, well, I bet Trump. And I'm like, you lose 50 points.
Fantastic.
And so I've been having a lot of fun with that. You can check that out on YouTube, my YouTube page, or Instagram.
Hell yeah.
And then every Monday and Wednesday night, we're at Hurley's for the best fucking comedy night in Montreal. World's smallest comedy night.
Hell yeah.
Mondays and Wednesdays.
Hell yeah, dude, man. Thanks so much for coming on. There's a lot
thank
of
you. This was fun.
it was eye opening and a very fun week for me.
No, it was really a lot of fun. I appreciate it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, man. We'll have you back anytime.
Awesome.
Hell
Thank
Awesome.
you.
Thank you very
Fist
much.
bumps.
Cheers. All right. Peace.
Peace.